Good evening and welcome to our webinar on spirituality and mental health. FACEMI Families Alliance on Mental Illness is one of the first advocacy group for mental illness in India, which advocates for the wellness of the PMIs, for their rights, as well as for the family carers, both with the central government and the state government. Through our webinars, we try to bring about the latest rules, certain guidances, regulations, and also through our vibrant WhatsApp groups. We are deeply rooted in the family ethos through an inclusive approach. And that's why, we refer to family members not as caregivers, but as family carers. Inclusivity in families is a salient feature of our group. We presently have 4 zones. Just share the details of it. Maitri Bangalore, Shanti Delhi, Shakti Kolkata, and FACEMI Mumbai. I'll also be sharing the details of all these members in the chat. Just a quick update on what we are working presently at right now. The first one is the UDID process. With the latest notification in March 2024, where the disability certificate can be issued by interviewing the family care. So we are trying to get this implemented. We've been talking to NIMHANS and also the certain central and state governments to get this implemented. In terms of psychiatric emergencies, 108 ambulances, we have identified a legal lacuna, and we have shared this again with the central government and certain state governments. We have also created an SOP. We are just in the process of copywriting, and then we should be able to share again with the central and certain state governments. Maitri Bangalore continues to focus on AHC through its pilot with NIMHANS, and the other zones have also made presentations with their respective state governments, and hopefully we should be taking this forward. We have, in the last couple of months, we have made several presentations to Niti Aayog, to Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and the state governments also. And we hope certain progress in all these areas. Our mission is to get the center and the state to work with family-centered programs, and we really look forward to taking it forward. Some of our good work. Just a few etiquettes for this session. I request people to remain on mute. And whatever questions you want, I request you to put on in the chat so that post the session, we can ask it to Professor Murthy. I now call upon Sindhuja, to introduce the speaker.
Thank you, Saraswati. Good evening to one and all. It is my pleasure to introduce Professor Murthy today. Professor R Srinivasa Murthy studied medicine at CMC Vellore. He completed his postgraduate training in psychiatry and worked at the Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research, Chandigarh, from till 81. He was a faculty member at NIMHANS Bangalore till 2003 and retired as a professor of psychiatry. He worked with WHO as a staff member from 2000 to 2001 and then 2004 to 2007. He is currently working on developing and disseminating self-care skills for emotional health for persons living with cancer, their caregivers, and caregivers of developmental disabilities. Yeah. Our topic for today's webinar is spirituality and mental health. We all have our challenges. Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am. I'm sorry, I thought Dr. Nirmala was speaking to me. I'll continue with the introduction. Sorry for the disturbance. Our topic for today's webinar is spirituality and mental health. We all have our challenges on a day-to-day basis of varying degrees, and therefore one is always on the lookout for how to handle such life situations. And the question therefore put forth to us, can spirituality help in this journey? The intersection of spirituality and mental health may resonate with many of us, but we are in an era where mental well-being is increasingly recognized as crucial to overall health, and therefore it is important to understand the role of spirituality and how it can help play an important role as part of our own mental well-being. Let's hear from our guest speaker today. And this topic is very close to his heart. And it is my pleasure to announce that his book on cancer care and the underutilized role of spirituality in it has just been released. Congratulations, Dr. Murthy. I think the book will help a lot of us. And you have done a lot of research on it. We would like to hear from you now. So over to you, Dr. Murthy.
Thank you very much. Good evening to everyone. And I'm really very happy today because for two reasons. I never thought spirituality would be so much in the news. And I think Nirmala did not realize that you're choosing May 31st when spirituality is being thrown about in the news because of Modi going to Kanyakumari, and whether it's a drama, whether it's real, whether he's bringing in spiritual resources into India. I mean, you can say it what you want. And we couldn't ask for a better background to sensitize all of us. But what I want to do in the next half an hour, because we leave enough time for all of us to interact, and I see some very senior people like Topanpati being there with us in the session, is to address three issues. Number one issue, is spirituality important in caregiving? And I'm going to share this with the experience of a handful of people whom I interacted in the last 2 weeks. Second, is there evidence to say that there is a benefit of spirituality in terms of mental health, mental disorders, and more important, spend considerable amount of time. What does it mean to practice spirituality? Is it some belief, or is it something which is practicable, practicable? And I want to give you 10 items in this one. And you see in the chat box a long summary of it. And as Sindhuja pointed out, I have written about a dozen articles. I'll be very happy to send all of those articles to anyone who sends me an email. Now, the main message I want to share with you all today is that spirituality may not provide direct solution to understand and accept illness or caregiving, but does provide a path, a way forward for understanding of suffering and losses, and find solace, joy, and celebration of life. I say this as the main thing, and I hope I'll convince all of you and make you think of spirituality in a different way than what you start at the beginning of the thing. Now, spirituality is an essence of India, and the wisdom of it was brought out by someone very senior. Many of you may not know about it. There was a Swiss psychiatrist by name Arna Haak, who was the advisor to Sushila Nair, was a very important figure in the 1950s and 60s, did some fantastic work, wrote a lot of things. She had something to say in 1960. There is hardly any discovery of modern Western psychotherapy that cannot quite easily be confirmed by some parable or a proverb from the writings of Indian origin. That's a high praise for someone who has been, who comes from Sweden and came and worked in India for nearly 30, 40 years, and she's no more. Similarly, Dr. Vig said something else, my teacher, spirituality in some ways, it is nothing, and in other ways, it is everything. Now, let me get to the first part of it. Initially, I thought I will talk about the scientific aspect of it. But in the last 2 weeks, this is one of the things which I do. I wrote to about half a dozen of my colleagues whom I know who are caregivers, asking them to tell me about their experiences. I will take the next 5 minutes to tell what they wrote to me back in brief, not the full amount of it because time doesn't allow that. The first is a remarkable person, Amrit Bakshi of Schizophrenia Awareness Association in Pune. He is in his 80s, looking after Richa, and I had a hand in it about 30 years back. I did look after her. And when I asked him, he said, Murthy, spirituality is what keeps me going. I said, how do you do it, sir? He said, I have spiritual music the whole day in the house. Every Sunday between 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock, me and Richa go to one of the religious places and spend the day listening to music, fellowship with other people, and that charges me for the rest of the day. The second one was Ritu Sharma. from the Delhi branch of FACEMI. She said to me that spirituality is the essence of my life, and spirituality drives me. And I asked her specifically how. I said, I have had difficult time looking after my sister, my own problems. She says, I do recite Durga Pratishtha, and that helps me a lot. Similarly, I do Shavasana, which has given me mental health, and a lot more, but I will stop at that. Then comes host Saraswati. She had something fantastic to write, both she and her husband. Spirituality is a law significant because it gives strength in this journey of caregiving. It helps me acceptance of the situation and a layer of faith and hope. Spirituality for me was search of purpose in life. Finally, when I set out to start FME and help other families, it felt deep down a sense of meaningful connection. And she ends up with the advice: spirituality encourages self-awareness and reflection, helping individuals understand their values, beliefs, and purpose. Further, the meaning of spirituality may change with life situation. Her husband had this to say: I would rate spirituality as the most significant imperative requirement to support a caregiving experience. Meditation and pranayama helps you to control your breath. Spirituality is a disciplined way of life and everyone must practice to obtain the required strength and energy from the universe. He ends up with a beautiful Shah Rukh Khan saying, if you like something from depth of your heart, the entire universe works hard to give you what you like. Fantastic. Another caregiver whom I know for a long time, Chetana, who right now in America, said, spirituality to me is a belief that there is divine source which gives me strength and self-belief. It is a belief that every being on earth has a purpose in life. In my life, the belief that there is a supreme being looking at me was my strength. She looked after her mother with dementia for about 10 years, remarkable caregiver. And another colleague said, for me, being honest, responsive, empathetic, accessible, and doing my bit is a way of life, way of thinking the Almighty for the blessings for me and opportunity to serve humanity. So I could go on and on, but I'll stop at that and move on to the research resource part of it. I will tell my presentation in terms of stories. The first story I want to tell you is a story that came out in April 2024. This was a report in the Journal of American Medical Association, where they looked at 1,500 people with chronic pain who were seen every 3 months. And at the end of the year, they looked at what determined the outcome. And what they found was surprising. They found that if the physician was empathetic, the amount of opioid use was less, the quality of life was better, even the surgical interventions for back pain was much less than if the physician was not empathetic. Similarly, during COVID, from Wuhan, there is a paper saying that people who practice meditation had less effect of the COVID than those who did not practice. Similarly, those who had support, those who had someone to listen to, and those who did exercise, did all those things. Lots of research is there, as Sindhuja pointed out. It's not a book, it's an article in the Indian Journal of Medical and Pediatric Oncology. I'll be happy to share it. It just came, actually the final proof came today, and says that in cancer, in diabetes, in HIV/AIDS, in multiple sclerosis, any chronic illness, spirituality adds a new dimension to improve the quality of life, improve the prognosis, and also the effectiveness of the treatment. I'll come to more researches in a minute. And as a caregiver or a patient, there are 3 challenges that you face, where spirituality comes. What are these 3 challenges? The first challenge is, one is what I call it as the novelty crisis. That is understanding, acceptance, and saying that, look, I am a different person than what I am. The second one is living with the illness. It might be change of diet, it might be taking medicine, it might be going to the doctor and then again, it might be losing a job and all those things. But much more than that, the third challenge is finding a new purpose and meaning in life. That is what I call the value crisis. It is in this third one the spirituality becomes very, very important, because the medical science doesn't give you a direction in which to look at the value of life and the purpose of life, or why I'm suffering and all of those things. That comes from spirituality. Now, there is an enormous amount of literature in this area. I just want to introduce you to a handful of them. And one of them is a fantastic book by Dr. Avdesh Sharma, late Avdesh Sharma, my student, but he's no more. He brought together in 2009 this book, Spirituality and Mental Health, a tremendous resource. It's available in electronic form. It has got about 40 articles which are worth reading it. Similarly, my teacher, Dr. Vic, wrote a book called Joy of Mental Health. There are a number of articles. This is from Chandigarh. It's available in print, and it discusses issues like Vanaprastha and other things. The third one is a very interesting one by Nimhan's senior colleague, Dr. Shyam Sundar. He contributed a chapter to this book, the book about the therapeutic use of stories. He has done, and I'm going to read out some stories for all of you in a minute or so. He looked at mythology, Indian mythology, and how it can help to understand suffering, how it can help recovery, and all those things. I'll read out a couple of stories a little later. And the other one is Amrit Bakshi's book of caregiver stories, about 20 stories. And we, my colleague Divya and Nishchita, both three of us looked at it and drew out about 6-7 lessons, and one of them is spirituality. Lest you think it's all Indian, the latest book that has come out from the NIMH director is From Mental Illness to Mental Health. He was the director of National Institute of Mental Health with a budget about 20 billion in the 10 years he was the director. And now he says that, look, we really need to move from mental illness to mental health. And that is the issue that we are talking about. Now, let me give you the evidence. The question everyone thinks of it, as I said, at this moment, because of Modi's going to Kanyakumari, everyone is belittling spirituality. But actually, spirituality is a very, very strong force which can determine physical health and mental health. Let me give you some evidence for the same. 80% of research on religion and spirituality is done in mental health. Only 20% has been done with the physical health. And there is enough evidence to indicate the relationship with physical health in terms of decreased heart diseases, decreased stroke, better brain functioning, better the outcome of cancer and other chronic illnesses, longer lifespan. Even the telomeres do not age when among spiritual people compared to the non-spiritual people. And as I pointed out in empathy, there is decreased perception of pain and better interventions, better response to interventions when among people who practice spirituality, and even the immunity is better, as I mentioned to you about the COVID. In the area of mental illnesses, the evidence is very clear. There is a paper by Dr. Honig from Duke University with about 600 references, which shows that there is lower levels of depression, there is lower levels of suicide. You know, the latest book of suicide, Oxford textbook of suicide, starts with 11 chapters on spirituality before even talking about epidemiology, because spirituality is so central to prevention of suicide. It is low levels of anxiety and better outcome of psychosis among those who practice spirituality, particularly meditation and yoga, and lower levels of drug abuse and tobacco use, lower levels of delinquency and crimes, and greater marital stability. And I can go on and on. And as I said, I've written about it. All those things, I can send it to you. You can read it in greater detail. Now, the question that comes up is, if there is so much known, Dr. Murthy, how do I practice it? What do I do? Do you want me to become a follower of Aurobindo or Ramakrishna, or read Quran or Bible, depending on the background, or the Sikh Guru Granth Sahib? In each religion, I've talked a little bit about Hinduism because that's what I know it. Unfortunately, I don't know enough about Christianity, Islam to be able to talk in that one, though I know the things. For example, in Sikhism, there is a term called Chardi Kala, which is a resilience and taking up adversities with resilience. So every religion has that, and we must do that. Now you will ask me, how can I do that? What is it that I should be doing to say that this benefit of spirituality will be with me and my care, either my ward or myself is the one. Now, I want to use the analogy of going to a beach, and there are four ways we react to the beach. Some of us will sit in the beach, enjoy the sea. Some of us will just dip our feet and enjoy the water. Some of us will swim a little bit in the shallow water. Some others will go deep dive and see the life beneath. The same way, spirituality can be practiced at different levels. And I'm going to tell you 10 different ways it can be practiced, not exclusion of each other. It can be combined, it can be mixed up, and it can be changed. And this one. And each one of them have been shown to be effective to the things that I explained, shared with you a few minutes earlier in terms of better mental health, better physical health, better recovery, and better quality of life. And as one parent said to me, Murthy, spirituality, having a caregiving experience, carer experience has improved or strengthened my spirituality. So it can be a new way of growing up. What are these 10 things? At the most simple level, it is reading of scriptures, Gita, Mahabharata, Ramayana, or Vedas, or Bhagavatam, or Quran, or Guru Granth Sahib, or Bible, and finding a meaning, purpose, and understanding of what pain is, loss about it. And I will tell you, I'm going to read you some stories from Indian mythology to show how you can use that one in a minute. Second thing is reciting mantras, or reciting the hymns of Christianity, because I am from CMC Vellore. I had a lot of exposure to that. Or the Muslim prayer, fantastic, the 5 times prayer every day, and listening to scriptures. Now you will say, can you give some examples of how scriptures can be of help? I'm reading from the book which I showed it to you, the book of stories by Dr. S, in which Dr. Shyam Sundar has written an excellent chapter called Psychotherapeutic Paradigms for Indian Mythology. And I'm going to read you a handful of stories to illustrate how suffering can be seen differently on the basis of that. First story is, Sage Vasistha explains to Prince Rama, the outer body receives the qualities of the inner mind. The thoughts and actions of the mind have their display in the several organs of the body, just as the pattern of leaves and branches of the tree is projected by the inner properties of the seed. The psychosomatic medicine described 4,000, 5,000 years back beautifully by Sage Vasistha. The second one is an illustration how your suffering can be modified by a spiritual way of looking at it. This is King Mahasena was attacked by a mightier king. In accordance with the counsel of his ministers, he made a truce with the aggressor and avoided a war. Yet within himself, he burned with remorse, asking, why did I submit to my enemy? His hurt, pride, and his sorrow made him very ill, and he developed an abscess in his vital organs. His vice physician, who knew the nature of his illness, thought out a plan, taking the ministers and the king's relatives into confidence. The king was falsely informed that his wife had died suddenly. Upon hearing this, he fell down in a faint, and as a result of the sudden shock of grief, the abscess burst. Eventually, the king made a good recovery. In the course of time, he conquered his enemies and found a meaning and purpose in life. The third story is a brief one. Lord Brahma, the creator, told the celestial Narada, people will be immersed in innumerable miseries on account of their own actions and behavior. In account of their own actions and behavior. Fourth one is, consequent to a series of incidents, Narmada Sundari was deserted by her husband. She found herself marooned in an island. In dejection, she walked into the sea to drown herself. While thus wading through the waves, she rethought, mere escapism will not end my miseries. Even though I may die now, I will not be freed from the bondages of my past actions. which will follow me to my next birth. So I may as well face them and finish them off in this life. She survived, suffered few hardships, and eventually became a Jaina nun and attained peace. The last story is a brief one. Once a cow and its calf were undergoing a lot of misery on account of ill treatment by their Brahmin owner. The cow intended to gore the owner to death, but the calf advised his mother against such a course of action. We are now suffering the consequences of our past actions. If you kill the owner, we will only be perpetuating the vicious cycle of actions and consequences. We can wipe out the consequences of our past actions completely only when we undergo them with dignity, courage, and composure. Dr. Sham Sundar has given about 24 stories in this particular article, and the book is full of about 100 stories or so. So I have just given an idea how, when you are in a difficult situation, a story with which you are born, brought up, and it be a part of the culture can give you solace. Similar ones were done. I have noticed it from people talking about Ramana Maharshi, his way of handling cancer, or Gautam Buddha talking about Kisa Gautami story. So there is a lot that you can learn just by reading these things. The second one is a very important activity, that is activities of religious importance, like doing puja, prayer, group sessions, fasting. These are second level of actions, which again, by doing it regularly, once on a particular day, like Tuesday or Friday or Saturday or on Amavasya or any other time, is again an easy way of doing it and using that opportunity to connect with the larger force, that is the God, and experience transcendence. A more concrete way of doing is meditation, yoga, and as I said, Ritu Sharma said it, and if she is in the audience, I will ask her to come in the discussion and share her experience. And Shavasana, all of these things help you to feel less about the burden that you are experiencing, like Narada Sundari felt about it, and experience the force within, and also activate the forces of the larger force of divinity to handle the problem. I have a friend who is remarkable in terms of handling the problems of his life, and he says that I see it as God testing me. Rather than saying that I am suffering, I am growing up in this suffering. I mean, look at the way how you turn around the whole thing. You can do that. Then comes specific activities like acceptance, understanding the past, or the Sundari said, it is part of my karma, or the cow and the calf said. So you look at it not as a punishment, but as something which you have carried, what they call vasanas or something like that. Much more useful are techniques like forgiveness. Books are available to show how forgiveness makes a big difference, and gratitude. For example, the latest episode of podcast with Sanjeev Gupta of the CNN, he has a podcast called Close to Life, and there is a description of the 30-minute episode of gratitude of a young lady, Catherine, who was found to have brain tumor, and how she used gratitude as a way of getting over her handling the challenges of living with cancer and recovery. One of the things she said, very useful thing, is the hurt of anger or disappointment is not good for you. Secondly, identify the person who you want to forgive and develop a method of forgiveness and express it to the person either in reality or in your mind, and then go on to your life without that burden of hurt and the pain in your mind. And they found, I mean, there are 4 stories I read about it. All of them felt better in their cancer journey, as well as lived longer than the doctors expected them. So there are enormous amount of literature relating to surrender, forgiveness, gratitude, and acceptance. Now, one other very important one, which all of us can do, is to service to others, whether you want to call it as social work or in the name of God. And I saw this about 50 years back when I was helping a Christian institution with special children. I used to go there every month from Chandigarh to Pune, that's about 100 kilometers away. And I asked them, how do you find strength? They said, look, doctor, I go to the chapel and pray and gives me the strength. And I look at looking after the children as my service to Jesus Christ. I mean, I still carry that image of 50 years back in 1972, which I learned from Sister Rose. She's probably in the audience, and she's still active there, working there. The other one is hope. Very important to have hope. And one person told me very well. I said, I read every day Sundarkanda and think of Sita, how she kept hope, even though she was in Ashokvana, and there was really no possibility of anyone reaching her. And she was rescued. And I think I will also be rescued. And that helps. So every religion has got this one in Christianity, in Islam, and Sikhism, and other things. Most important of all, the evidence is very, very strong. Those people who have a purpose of life. You have a number of them in this group. Nirmala is a personification of that. Saraswati is I mean, I don't want to embarrass by mentioning only one or two. Each one of you have chosen to make a difference to a dark area by lighting a candle, sometimes showing a torch, sometimes being the sun to bring bright this one. So each one of us can find a purpose of life, and that would go a long way to make the world better and decrease your suffering when you are helping other people. So I have talked about the experiences of people who responded, and they are in the audience, and you can ask them, or I would like them to come forward and give their personal testimony. I gave you some scientific evidence. If there is enormous amount of evidence to say spirituality is as important as vitamins, antibiotics, or other life-changing experiences like exercise, sleep, and nutrition. And that is something which is available to each one of us because we are born with it, we are living with it. In India particularly, spirituality is a thing which we go for as soon as we meet with a problem. Then I also identified to you the ways, 10 ways by which you can think of practicing it depending on your choice. Last thing which I want to share before closing up is that NIMHANS motto, when they started in 1954, it is 70 years back, they chose a very interesting slogan or a shloka, sorry, not slogan, Samatvam Yoga Uchayate. This is chapter 2, sloka 45, the last version. That means equanimity is the goal of all existence. Remarkable. To think of a time when people were chained, people were put in a mental hospital for life, to talk about that as the goal of NIMHANS. And this is the richness of the Indian civilization. I'm not talking about only Hinduism, Indian civilization. And if we can take a little bit of that, of equanimity as a goal, caregiving or living with illness, all of that disappears like ice melting in the face of sun. We will be able to handle any amount of the problem. Now, you will ask me, a action plan. I'm always, as Ramendra pointed out, I always believe that there's no point in talking about things without giving an action plan. My own action plan is fivefold. Number one, recognize the same way you look at medical care, you look at social supports, you look at ambulance service, you look at the UDID, or you look at Sumana Trust for staying when you are for future things. Think of spirituality as an important resource. Make that first commitment. Second thing is, find a spiritual practice that you can do it every day so that it can become a part of your life. And you will start seeing changes. And I've given you the example of Amrit Bakshiji, Amrit Bakshiji, as Ritu Sharma, Saraswati, Suresh, and other people. Third thing is seek spiritual supports. It's available. There are groups, support groups of Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, and every religion, Buddhists, Jains, everyone is there. Join a support group so that you have support, you practice very healthy practices. More than that, you will find a personal growth which will make your suffering less. And last one, I want all of us to do, and I'm willing to be with you in that journey, like Ramendra does for stories for children. Let's write stories of ours so that it empower other people. Because when you write a story, when someone listens to it, immediately they'll say, hey, he was able to do. वो कर सके मैं भी करूंगा. और माडू का तो नानो मार्तिनी. He did it, I will do it also. At this moment, we are poor in that, and we need to do that. And that is the mission that I want to do. And I was just talking to Saraswati and Nirmala. Let's find a way of making all of these things practicable, practical, and something which people can read about it, learn about it, and make it a part of their life. So I end by saying what Nirmala said to me this afternoon. We tend to reduce everything to mental illness. Let's think beyond that, not in place of that, but beyond that. Beyond that means not that we are leaving behind. And I looked up the definition of amend. Amend means improve, move forward. English. It's a fantastic acronym, though it was done for a different reason. Association for the mentally disabled, disturbed initially, and after that disabled, and things like that. Let's amend our lives by bringing spirituality into our life. And as another quote of this one was, maturity is spirituality. This is what Nirmala said to me this afternoon when I was talking to her. So I close by saying that spirituality may not provide direct solutions, but does provide a path forward to understand suffering and losses, for find solace, joy, and celebration of life. And we as Indians, let us do something which will make the whole world realize that there is a different way or an additional way of handling distress, disability, disease, and disappointments. And that would be the biggest contribution which Swami Vivekananda talked about, Radhakrishna talked about, Aurobindo talked about, Chinmaya talked about it, and you name it, and everyone has talked about it. And today the world is really looking for it, as I said to you in the beginning. And as Dr. Anna Haq says, there is nothing that West is discovering which is not there in our own culture. Since some people would have joined late, I just want to end the talk by with this quote. There is hardly any discovery of modern Western psychotherapy that can't quite easily be confirmed by some percept, parable, or proverb from the writings of the Indian origin. What a rich culture we have, and like a diamond, it's a piece of stone, but when you give facets, polish it, it becomes a bright diamond. The spirituality to me is that type of a stone which we need to make it into a diamond. And I end this one by thanking you all and open it for you to contribute from your side. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Murthy. It's truly for me and my husband, as I told you, the spirituality had two different meanings. And that is why I told my husband also to share, for him, he's gone on the path of praying, doing his Sandhya Vandanam, which he used to never do, reading Vishnu Sahasranam and Lalita Sahasranam, and, being very religious, and that's giving him strength. And for me, it was a different way, finding that purpose of life. So I completely related to what you spoke. Thank you so much. Can we take the questions? Quite a few have asked. Yeah.
Our spiritual masters and Guru Prasad. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Our spiritual masters claim that Bhagavad Gita is highly effective antidepressant.
I think he has to unmute Saraswati.
Yeah.
Sorry. I had muted it. There is enough evidence, Guru Prasad, to show that spiritual people have less depression, and if they develop depression, they recover faster than those who are not spiritual. So reading Gita, particularly the message of Krishna, Karmana Adhikaraste Mapaleshu Kadachan, and other things are very good. And equanimity is the goal of existence, and Sthita Prajna are all in the right direction, and it's something which is there for us to use it. Go ahead, Saraswati. The questions.
Yeah. So as you said, spirituality may not directly help in our day-to-day activities, but indirectly it helps.
I beg to disagree with you, Guru Prasad. There is some research to show spirituality decreases the decrease of the telomeres. Telomeres are the chromosomal ends which become less and less as you get older. In people who are spiritual, that shortening occurs much slower. So it's a biological process also. And their immunity is better than those who are not. So it's not only imaginary, it is biological also. Go ahead, Saraswati.
See, if you have any literature on this, could you please
just send me an email. My email is there in the chat. Send me an email. I'll send you a dozen articles.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Can I just take the questions which have been written on the chat to start with?
Saraswati?
Yeah, I'll take the question. Yeah.
I would like to extend a special welcome to Dr. Srikala Bharat.
Yeah.
I don't know if she remembers me. Hi, doctor. You suddenly disappeared from Nimans.
Very much
on the way we had gone.
Yeah.
We had given
Go
you
ahead, Saraswati.
Lot of challenges to you and your team. Nice to see you today. Welcome to our program. And please keep in touch with us. Please post your mail ID so that you can be on our mailing list.
Sure.
And others are also there. Some new persons. Welcome to all of you who are not members of FACEMI. Please join FACEMI if you are finding it interesting and eligible to join. Saraswati has posted the numbers. Over to you.
I just want to introduce two people who are very important. One is Dr. Topan Pati. He's a remarkable leader and from Orissa, and he's doing these musings. He's the person behind musings, which has covered more than 100,000 people. And the second one is my classmate from Vellore, Dr. Meghanathan, who is there in the bottom, Xiaomi 2305, a very, very good friend. And of course,
welcome to both of you. We are
privileged
to have you here.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Leave your mail IDs with us for future programs.
Yeah. The first question, the next question is by Mr. Shiva Pad. Okay. How spirituality can help a person with moderate to severe anxiety disorders and panic attacks?
You know, if any one of you are looking for someone who has spelt out the ideas of spirituality in a practical way, there is a Swamiji, Vivekananda's group Swamiji called Sarva Priyanandaji. If you Google him, particularly the one which he has done recently is on suffering. He makes the point that most of our suffering is 20% physical and 80% psychological. So what spirituality does in anxiety or panic attacks is by decreasing this 80% of it, by giving a purpose and a meaning and decreasing our preoccupation with the event, besides the biological changes that occur. And particularly in anxiety, depression, and the panic attacks, yoga, meditation is very, very helpful. The breathing exercises and the body postures and other things are very, very helpful to you. NIMHANS as a program of training people in these areas, a special area, please reach out to them and they will help you.
Yeah. I think the second question is also on similar lines, which Sunita Garg has asked. I think it's a similar answer. How can a person undergoing with psychosis, chronic depression, schizophrenia, etc., and a number of psychiatric illness, how do they benefit from spirituality? Kindly suggest some brief, tried and exact methods which they can follow with their capabilities, with their capacities, limitations, and challenges. I think it was a very similar.
Again, I don't want to repeat what I said. Think of, out of the 10 of them, again, I quickly repeat to you, from either reading scriptures or doing religious practices or meditation, acceptance, surrender, forgiveness, gratitude, any one of them. And if you can send me a email, I will give you papers that describe that particular method being useful so that you can practice it. Okay, so each one of them, not just as an idea, but as a practicable thing is possible. And as I said, it operates at 3 levels. First level is it takes you away from your illness to something bigger. Number two, the process of doing this itself gives the body relaxation and also ability to heal itself. Third thing, as I said, when you move away from the illness to the larger transcendental force, Atman or Brahman or whatever it is, Allah or Jesus, immediately your suffering becomes that much less. And for example, my Christian group where I'm a part of it, Vellore group, they say, for everything I bow to Jesus or I go to Jesus and ask for the things. So like that, 3 levels it happens. One takes away, it improves your coping capacity. Third thing is gives a meaning and a purpose.
So I have a question here,
Yeah.
sir. Suppose your ward, like I'm
Yeah.
asking because I have a daughter who goes through some issues. So
Yeah.
how do we, I mean, how do we, it's spirituality is something which cannot be, I have, as I have experienced, it comes on its own in the due process. You get in and how it's a journey, right? What I
Yes.
feel spirituality is a journey which I have experienced. But how do you make your child, or suppose your spouse, or your son or daughter, or any of the other wife, or, I mean, to, because a person who's going with through that illness, so that was the biggest challenge which we come across, and especially if somebody is a younger one, then how do we make them do it, gradually get into consistency to do it, and believe in it and follow it and be part of that journey? Thank you.
A very good question. As a matter of fact, Suresh has referred to involving the family. Is Suresh there in the audience? Or
No, he's
otherwise,
not
Saraswati,
there.
can you describe it better than
No,
how you
he,
do? See, the way to do it is to not to think of the highest level of spirituality. Go to the lowest level. Let's go to the temple together, or let's go to the church together, or let's just you just sit with me. I will read the scriptures for you, or let's do the puja together, or let's recite some hymns or something like that. So you involve the person and draw the person away from the particular life situation. Saraswati, would you like to explain how you have done it with your family?
yeah, so, we don't force it onto him, but he sees Suresh doing it
Yeah.
regularly, and he sees that the strength he's deriving from it. So we just tell him that, we are going to the temple, and would you like to join us? So he says no. So we say, okay. Sorry. But, after a few times, we kept asking him. Then, he said, okay, mom, I'm coming today. Okay, dad, I'm coming today. So it happened gradually over a period of time. It was not, but we did not stop asking him. I think that perseverance was, I'm sorry.
The most important thing is, as you said rightly, madam, that it is a journey, not a destination. Spirituality is a journey, not a destination. And all that you
Yes.
have to do. Yes, Ramendra, you want to say something?
Also, I
Yeah.
personally feel religion and spirituality are entirely two different things.
I agree with you on that.
So if somebody doesn't want to go to a temple, still a person can be spiritual. How we can inculcate that in a person who's undergoing a mental illness?
Mm-hmm.
So that is my, because, if a person doesn't want to believe in some idol, god idol or something, but spirituality is entirely different aspect or dimension. How can we do that?
Anyone of the Topanpati, you want to come in and share your ideas on that? It's a very important question. I have something to say, but I'll say it a little later.
Thank you, sir. I have been listening very intently so far. And just by the side, I would like to tell that recently I was in UK, and in University of Wolverhampton, I had to deliver a lecture in the same topic, spirituality and mental health, as invited by them. This particular question, it's not that we do it, we inculcate it, we induce it, we help the person grow by himself. Truly, spirituality and religiousness are not the same. Religious are two different things. In a way, religiosity is a institutionalized form of spirituality where rights are there, and rights being there, limitations are there. But spirituality does not have any limitation. It is ever expanding. There are many scientific evidence to that. This is not the ambit of this. I believe looking beyond and looking within become the same when we go across the journey of spirituality, step by step. Nothing happens suddenly, but it helps you to remain calm. Even if when you give your medical service to a patient who is not spiritual, with prayer to the God, with belief in yourself and communicating to him at the level of consciousness, we try to do it, and it will be at least more effective and more satisfying for you. That's right.
You know, one of the things that I would do, Mrs. Garg, is to take him to a park and allow him to immerse himself in nature and see the larger force that is driving that. So that the feeling that there is something bigger than myself. You know, when you go, for example, when you go to a park, you suddenly see leaves falling, flowers coming, you know, and one thing or the other. You know, there is no question of God or anything idol or anything else, except that you suddenly see. I do that every day, morning walk when I go. I'm amazed at the way I feel, seeing the changes that are occurring, and my problems become that much smaller. And in that process, you start seeing the bigger issues. And at that point of time, he might want to know more about it.
Okay. I have been trying this only.
Give it a try. And you have my email. And if you'd like to be in touch with me, I'll be happy to be with you as part of your journey.
Have you shared your email, sir?
Yeah, it's there in the email. Yes, Murthy030. It's in the beginning of the chat.
Okay.
I'll re-put it.
Thank you.
I'll re-put it, Sunita.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Saraswati.
Can I add something, Dr. Murthy?
Yes,
I'm
please,
Hansa,
please.
Dr. Hansa. Yes, I am Dr. Murthy's classmate from CMC Vellore. It's so wonderful to see that what Dr. Murthy was saying in this question, spirituality is different from religion. That is very, very true. In Christianity, when we bring in religion, what the people say is, see, this is an emotional crutch. You have reached a level you can't cope, so you're just holding on to God and spirituality as an emotional crush, emotional, a crutch to hold on to and hop with. This is what they say. So what we do is we sit with them and we explain to them that Jesus is real. He did die, he rose again, and we have proofs to show that the resurrection is true and he is alive today, and how many people have been helped. And we show this to them, and that is how they've come to the Lord and they've taken up Christianity and they've changed. So I just thought I'd leave this thought with you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. There is one question which I want to answer. Sir, can you highlight biological effects of small spiritual actions so that it will be suddenly convince practical person? As I said to you, people who are spiritual have slower aging process. People who are spiritual, when they have treatment of conditions like HIV/AIDS, that treatment is more effective. They have less side effects. In cancer, people who are spiritual live longer and have less side effects of the treatment they take it. And as we saw in COVID, people who are spiritual had greater immunity and lesser serious problems and better recovery. And more things are being discovered that the effect of spirituality and exercise can be as effective as the biological interventions like medicines. A paper that came out 1 month back showed that exercise daily is as effective as taking antidepressants for mild and moderate depression. Remarkable. Just imagine that. You know, it's as effective. This is from America, not from some godforsaken small place. Peter, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. First of all, Murthy, nice to see you after 50 years or so. I know you were in Nimans, but never had the chance to meet you. And who was this Moto G7 who just spoke earlier? I didn't get the name. Hello?
Yeah, sorry?
Probably Murthy's batchmate from Vellore.
Yeah, who's that? Nirmala?
No, that is Meghanathan.
Oh yeah, Megan. I didn't see that person. Yeah.
Yeah. No, in a t-shirt.
Yeah.
White t-shirt.
Yeah. My name is Peter Witter.
Yeah. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah. One thing is you teach them young. That's what the Bible says. So when you teach them young, and they will not leave that path, and they will always stick to that. So one answer is teach them young. Okay. Then the other thing is about spirituality is that, if you accepted Christ and the Spirit of God comes in you and he leads you, guides you, takes care of you, and you follow him. That is spirituality. God in you.
Yeah. Surrender.
Yeah. So that's what the Bible says. So I just wanted to say what the Bible part of that. So the true Christian spirituality is based upon the extent to which a person a believer allows the Spirit of God to lead and control his or her life. That's basically spirituality that I know of. And so it cannot be apart from religion. It has to be part of your belief. It cannot be two things, but there's if you want to explain, it's a different level. We accepted God, and God, takes over, and he leads you, guides you, and he is your Lord, and that's what spirituality is. So,
thank you, Peter. Thank you, Hansa and Peter, for bringing in the Christian dimension of it. Very helpful. Shikala, you had something to say.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Unmute,
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful talk. As somebody said, is spirituality, being religious, is it spirituality? I think many people have spoken about the Christian way, and sir has spoken a lot about the Bhagavad Gita and other things. But I think in smaller, and somebody else also asked that if somebody doesn't follow that, what is it I do? And then sir answered by saying that it is a journey and it is a process. It is not the goal. But I think that what we also need to, as parents, as caregivers, we also need to understand that spirituality is beyond religion. And some of the things, core essence of spirituality is understanding through the nature that all are the same, that there is no difference between me and a dog. Some people think that I am superior, I am inferior because I have more money or less money, and this is my right. There's a sense of entitlement. There's a lot of arrogance. So a lot of these qualities, is not spiritual. And that is what we need to understand, that a spiritual person is a person who has rights to, who understands the rights of self, but also understands his own or her own responsibilities and understands the rights of the other person. So in the end is equal, understands that life is a cycle with ups and downs, and so becomes equanimous. So this can be so I believe that even in atheists, if they understand the essence of some of these things, and what some of the things sir said about forgiveness, acceptance, if these are practiced, I think somebody can be as spiritual as somebody else who can, it's difficult, but in the young children, if the parents are seen as being very consistent, disciplined, what they say is what they do, that there is no difference between what they say and what they do and what their attitudinal aspects, all these things can definitely push somebody to spirituality. I think a true sense of spirituality. And I also would like to people, but Sir was talking about spirituality and mental health. We know it's only the 10% of the people who are severely mentally ill. The 90% of the people have common mental illnesses. Many of them can have spontaneous remissions. And these are the people where religion as a path to spirituality can help. And in the severe mental illness, in the common mental illness, it is probably much more preventive and promotional. Whereas in the severe mental illness, the care is spirituality. And once the person is better with medication, religion as a spirituality can help. Religion is known to is seen to be as a very good coping strategy. But at the same time, I would like also to stress that spirituality in its true essence need not be religious, but that's very difficult to practice. Extremely difficult to practice.
Thank you, Shikara.
I have a question.
There is a question.
Can I
There's
just
a question.
ask one more?
Yeah, 1 minute. I'm coming.
Have raised my hand.
Can I be atheist but as well as spiritual? If these two are different, no. Both can be possible. Spirituality is not only God. It can be universe. It can be a bigger force, and it can be Iswan. And Shupad, if you can send me an email, I'll tell you about an experience of an atheist who experienced a near-death experience. Just came this week in CNN, called Sebastian Junger, and how they talked about it. And atheists can be spiritual without any hesitation. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Someone was talking. I interrupted.
Yeah, I just, this is my last question.
Yeah.
I recently read, I think all of us know that the scientist Stephen Hawking, who was totally on the chair and the entire life, he had a lot of physical issues. And then he had written a book also that as such, there is no God, there is no past life, there is no future life. The existence of this universe can be explained thoroughly, fully by the laws of physics. But he said, I will not say that the people who follow, they shouldn't, but I can fully explain how this universe came in with the laws of physics. So I just would like to, because my daughter often asks me that you say do good karma, let us do this, let us forgive. What about, is there a past life? Is there a future life? And I have given her n number of things, and I try to convince her through Gita and all that, being a Hindu. But when they read such theories, that too by such a renowned scientist, yeah, so that's all. Thank you.
Sunita, I wish I think time is running out, and Saraswati must be wanting to close Sunita, it. Please send me an email, and this exact question was addressed by this person, Sebastian Junger, who had a near-death experience. His father, who's dead, came to call him, and then he equates it with quantum and other things. Your daughter will be fascinated to read about it. And his book, In My Life of Dying, is something which she would find many answers in this area. Yes, Nirmala.
Yes, thank you.
Saraswati, you close it whenever you are ready.
Yeah.
Response to Sunita, you had said that, or rather what Saraswati said, I think. We keep telling every day we go to temple, and then one day the person comes, follows her, says, yes, Mom, I'll go with you. That's what she had said, Saraswati had said. Sunita also said continuous exposure. Now, in my case, I'm just sharing my experience. This is not advocating anything, because I'm hardly anybody to advocate on spirituality. I'm the last person to do it. I had to respond to my son's requirements of spiritual needs around him. Like we used to, for us, all celebrations were there. We are Hindus, of course, and all festivals we celebrate. But never as a family we have gone to temples. Never we have sat together to pray. We took everything. And for us both, fortunately for me and my husband, values were sacrosanct. The humanitarian aspects of an individual was almost divine. So that is how we brought up our children, and we are proud of it. However, I realized at some stage, my son used to give, he's a patient of chronic anxiety and depression. He used to give indications. Mommy, do you remember Granima used to recite those slokas sometimes? Do you remember any of those? So initially, I took it very casually. This is Sunita, please hear. I hope you are hearing me out.
Yes, I am.
As a carer, I had to respond to them. It's not always necessary that we have to guide them. This is the moral of the story. Sometimes as carers, we also need to be guided by their needs, which can be spiritual needs, which have not been fulfilled probably, which could not have been fulfilled. Suppose normal milestones is had and is gone. Maybe it would have never, maybe we would have celebrated his wedding or his whatever other things, getting a child, or in the most ritualistic fashion, which is what we used to do. But then I realized sitting together and praying, which we do now, first thing in the morning and last thing in the night, thanks to my son, he has helped me. It is the reverse of others' experiences. Here I learned from the suffering person, look, what Granima used to do probably could help. Remember in those days, Dr. Murthy, there'll be some old grandmother, old widowed aunt sitting in a corner and doing that Rudraksha, the rosary, what we call Rudraksha. They won't talk. They'll be just sitting and doing that itself was great support to us. That is one thing. Second thing I want to say, Dr. Murthy, I like your that analogy you gave, going in shallow waters, and I'm still in shallow waters. I can't say whether I'll go beyond that. And in these shallow waters, I found our proverbs to be of a tremendous help. They are simple, they are effective, they come to the context. They don't talk about any abstract gods or goddesses. Proverbs is one thing which I've started, especially proverbs in mother tongue, because we all become anglicized to the extent of children, usually, especially military families like ours. We move around from place to place. That boys never got a chance to know Tamil, their mother tongue. Now I have revived travel proverbs. I'm very keen to do bring out, because for every proverb you find across other languages. They're all there, and this helps. For example, one small example, hypersensitivity. There is a proverb in Tamil, if the dog barks at the sun, what happens to the sun?
Very good.
And I have been using it so religiously every morning with my prayer. With our prayer, I conclude my prayer with this proverb in Tamil with my son. We have also devised the prayer of speak no evil, hear no evil, see no evil. My son has added two more things. Mommy, fear no evil, think no evil, and fear no evil. So these are two other additions. I'm just trying to share so that carers simple things. You can always say this is simple things. So this is what the proverbs are very helpful. And I found this to be a very important thing. In fact, we have to write something to share about it. I don't have any stories. Another thing, every day in times of when we are speaking tree comes. There is an article speaking tree. Small Panchatantra tales. Use very effective, very, very effective over breakfast to discuss speaking tree. Thank you so much. I'm sorry if I've taken up your time.
Thank you. Ritu is here. Ritu, would you like to come in and share something? Ritu Sharma from Delhi? No. Okay.
Muted?
Yes, sir. 1 second.
Yes, please. Nice to see you. Go ahead.
So nice to see you, sir. We
Thank
are
you.
so grateful for you to be here with us. So, sir, I would like to just add that once my mom said, when you are suffering so much, God is missing you. That's the thing. So, yeah. So that's why the more you suffer, the more he misses you. So the more you go closer to him, the lesser you will suffer. That is the thing. So these are the things. But I'm so mesmerized by this discussion because I'm very close exposed to spirituality in many ways. In this suffering of, I'll be very candid in saying this, that we have suffered so much that we try anything that will reduce our suffering. And during this lifetime, I have tried everything, all Sai Baba, Buddhism, and each and everything has given me so much strength. You cannot negate the effect of any religion, anything that is giving us strength. Each and every spiritual practice or whatever we go through, they are all best in everything, and they are the ones which slowly build up our courage, sir. And sir, this talk, I think it's so important if we write in our own diaries what is helping us in spirituality and share with each other. It will really help us so much. So, sir, this is what I wanted.
You know, one of the dreams that I have, I hope Saraswati and Nirmala and Ritu will join me. You know, I brought out a set of stories of caregivers of special children on 7 themes. You know, like that, if we can bring out a set of, say, 100 stories of people living, little one page, 2 page, it will be a very big help for people to find inspiration and a direction. Inspiration in the sense someone else has done it. Direction because someone has tried it. I will do my own way of doing it.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Saraswati, back to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor Murthy. I now request Ritu Sharma to do the vote of thanks for us.
Just before that, I just want to thank all the people. I saw at one point we are nearly 100. That's the cutting edge. And I thank all of them for joining in. And I request each one of you to take this forward and let us make the Indian contribution a real contribution of spirituality. Thank you. Ritu, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So what to say, sir? Thanks a lot for taking out time and inspiring us, motivating us, informing us, making us more knowledgeable on spirituality. And this is a big reminder for us to give time to spirituality, which maybe sometimes in our busy schedule we forget. So extremely thankful to you, sir, for coming here on this webinar. It's a very important event, and we hope to have you more often to inspire us like this. So we all, team FACEMI and all of us here, thank you so much for sparing your precious time and being here. Thank you, Nirmala ma'am, for this webinar, FACEMI, for organizing all this and helping us, guiding us all the time. And all the participants, all audience who are here, the eminent, the esteemed people, Srinivas sir's friends, everybody, thank you so much for being part of this webinar and taking out your precious time. Thank you all. We are grateful.
Thank you.
A lot of people have been asking the name of the books. So what I request is, I have shared the email ID of Dr. Murthy. So if you could just write to him, and then he could share the names of the
Absolutely.
books. Yeah.
Not only names, I will send the material itself. I'm, you know, one of the things that I do to find fulfillment and purpose is to do voluntary work. I do only voluntary work, and this will give me my spiritual quota of doing good by helping you all. I'll get you all the books and all the documents free.
I'm resharing it on the chat. It's smurthy030@gmail.com. So, you know, you could write to him and take the name of the books and the material. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now I request Ritu to do our FACEMI pledge.
And let us all take the FACEMI pledge. Will you please display it?
Yeah, 1 second, please.
Saraswati, Ritu can just go ahead and read it.
Yeah, Ritu, go ahead.
You can just listen.
Okay. The FACEMI pledge. We, the members of Families Alliance on Mental Illness, FACEMI, pledge to support one another and other families in similar situation, and we use language which conveys love and respect towards each other, and especially towards PMI. We shall strive to protect and promote the rights of PMIs as enshrined in the laws of the land. On this day, we take the pledge to work towards the vision and mission of FACEMI India. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Murthy. Thank you, Nirmala. Any last words anybody would like to add on?
Made us more reflective, I think.
Yes.
We are not reflective.
Yes.
More questions. We are going back. That is the secret of this session. We are going back with more questions than answers. We have to find out the answers for ourselves.
Yes.
Thanks, Dr. Murthy. Thank you very much.
Thank
To all our
sir.
special guests. Please, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.